हाय।
भाई ऐसे गेम में चीटिंग चलेगी तो मैं नहीं कर रहा। मैं नहीं कर रहा।
अच्छा अच्छा, रेट
आज
रेट
ये
माय
मेरा
हाई।
आखिरी एपिसोड। आखिरी एपिसोड है ये मेरा। इसके बाद अब मैं नहीं दिखाऊंगा क्योंकि इसने मेरी आईपी चुरा ली है।
भाई लेकिन मैंने एक्यूरेट किया या ठीक ठीक किया? क्योंकि मेरी आवाज
देख
इतनी को।
देख देख देखो, मैं थोड़ा एनालिसिस ब्रेक डाउन करके देता हूँ, देखो ब्रूटल ब्रेक डाउन देता हूँ। एक हाई होता है जो मैं करता हूँ। हाय
हम्म,
ये हाई इज इंस्पायर्ड फ्रॉम आवर ग्रेट फिलोसोफर जोकर। और एक हाई तूने किया है ना। ये हाई को मैं एक्सप्लेन करना चाहता हूँ कि हम जब बचपन में बचपन में जब हम प्रैंक्स प्ले किया करते थे, तो एक प्रैंक मैंने भी प्ले किया था अपने टीचर के साथ, जिसमें नॉट टीचर, नहीं गलत, टीचर के साथ नहीं किया था, स्टूडेंट के साथ किया था, एक अपने
टीचर
क्लासमेट
के
के
साथ
साथ।
क्या प्रैंक करता था तू? पहले ये बता।
ये गेंडू जनरेशन हैंडल नहीं कर पाएगी तो वी विल लाइक
ठीक है,
कट कट
कट।
दिस।
हाँ।
किसी स्टूडेंट के साथ मैंने प्रैंक किया था जहाँ पे वो कहीं बाहर से आया, क्लास के अंदर बैठा और फिर बैठ रहा था, तो मैंने उसके नीचे पेंसिल रख दी। विल बी राइट बैक। तो नाउ यू नो तेरा हाई कैसे लगा होगा मुझको एंड पूरी जनता जनार्दन को।
तो अच्छा, तो तेरे को ऐसा लगा कि तू बैठ गया था पेंसिल पे और तेरे को जो आवाज निकलती वो तेरा परफेक्ट है?
नहीं
हाय।
नहीं नहीं।
अच्छा नहीं, बट मैं
जिसको
एक्चुअली एक्चुअली मैं स्पेसेस वगैरह पे जाके तेरी आवाज निकाल लेता हूँ, लोगों को बिलीव हो जाता है कि मैं तू ही हूँ कभी कभी। मैंने
सोचो।
तेरा इतना डिटेल में तेरे को लिया हुआ है ना अंदर।
हाँ,
और लोग भाग
अब
जाते फिर।
भाई
अरे
तो
अरे मतलब तेरी आवाज को इतना डेटा पॉइंट्स है मेरे पास। ये हम इतनी ज्यादा बात कर चुके हैं। मैं ये कह रहा था कि और मैं जैसे ही जाता हूँ उस आवाज के साथ, लोग भाग जाते हैं क्योंकि कोई तेरे से बात नहीं करना चाहता। डरते हैं,
अच्छी बात
बात
है ना।
करना चाहता तो अलग
अच्छी
बात
बात है।
होती। डरते हैं।
आई एम बेसिकली मोदी ऑफ एक्स। बात
मोदी
नहीं करना
ऑफ।
चाहते लोग, लोग भाग जाते हैं। बट द पॉइंट इज कि व्हाट्स अप राइट फोक्स, ऐसा मुझे बोलने के लिए कहा गया यहाँ पे, जो कि मैं एकदम ये सैल्यूटेशन आज के बाद कभी यूज नहीं करूंगा।
हमारी टीम ने
अ,
बोला था। पता नहीं
हाँ,
क्यों डाला हुआ है।
कि आप ऐसे ग्रीट करो, लोगों को इनवाइटिंग रखो। नहीं, हम नहीं करने वाले। हम ऐसा नहीं करने वाले। वी विल गेट स्ट्रेट टू द पॉइंट। आज 11th एपिसोड ऑफ वन मोर थिंग। आज हम इतने थोड़ा थोड़ा वापस से अपनी वाइब लेके आते हैं। थोड़ा
हम्म,
नुआंस एंड सब्सटेंस के बारे में बात करेंगे। वी हैव a lot of things to discuss in one of the industry that I have been living, breathing, walking, talking all my life. And the same is with Aryan Kocher. आज हम हमारी टेक इंडस्ट्री के बारे में एक बहुत खतरनाक कॉन्वर्सेशन करने वाले। There is a lot of things to discuss, and we thought ki what's the what's the best time to talk about tech of 2024 if not January. So
या
that's why the 11th episode of One More Thing, ऐसे हम
चल।
प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं ताकि इसके बाद हम एक इंट्रो म्यूजिक डाल सकें समडे, है ना।
या
अपकमिंग हम ये बात करना।
या
बट या
चल चल, एक
दैट
चीज
इज
से स्टार्ट करते हैं सबसे
यप।
पहले तो। लाइक टेक ऑफ जनवरी कांट गो विदाउट एआई हार्डवेयर, एंड एआई हार्डवेयर इज जस्ट स्टार्ट. So we can discuss our views on it, IQ's views on it, and because since you're already writing something on Rabbit AI, and not just about Rabbit AI, about Humane, about any other AI hardware out there. एक वो भी तो है जो pendant वाला जो था,
हाँ, क्या तो
जो
नाम था।
आपके
ओनिक्स ओ से कुछ नाम है, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर।
what? Yeah. So there's a lot of talk about AI hardware. Do you think Apple is going to win the war again with AI hardware?
ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे ना दो तरीके से हमें वी हैव टू ब्रांच आउट टू आर्ग्यूमेंट्स हियर। सबसे
Hmm.
पहले एक बायस्ड आर्ग्यूमेंट which which propagates from the fact कि unfair advantages किसके पास है। राइट, वी ऑल नो कि डिसरप्टिव स्टार्टअप्स बहुत ज्यादा इस खेल को जानते हैं, बहुत बार खेल के हार चुके हैं। सो दे exactly understand how these kind of uh, hardware tech products really work, and inducing AI is just another fickle. Matlab, it is basically taking a bullock cart setup and adding an engine and making a car out of it. That is the leap
Mm.
and transition that people are expecting, but they also need to understand that if they're expecting such great leaps, then they have to wait for, matlab, patiently wait for that particular thing to happen, or else anything ahead of time and anything after the time is over doesn't make sense. Although you don't have to be very early in the market, and you don't have to be very late in the market. Either way, you're going to lose the propensity of that tech moat around you. What do I mean by this? I will uh, break down the entire idea that I mentioned. AR VR की बात करते हैं सबसे स्टार्टिंग से, एज यू हैव आस्क्ड कि एप्पल जीतेगा कि नहीं ये वॉर, है ना? AR VR was the hottest tech in 2016 2017 wala era when it really started. There are a lot of people that Palmer करके एक guy है जिसने like Oculus बनाया था, है ना, and he sold it to Facebook. मतलब these are the times when these kind of new tech products came. But there was one substance, one nuance that people missed out, which was that people उस समय, it was 2016 2017, it was just like what, 10 years after the entire world started to inhibit the idea of having a smartphone in their pocket. Like the full
Mm.
penetration of smart devices were slowly and gradually taking momentum.
Starting.
And this is what
Yeah.
happens with accelerationism, कि आप जैसे जैसे बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स रखते जाते हो ना टेक के अंदर, लोग लीप लेने की कोशिश करते हैं, बिकॉज दे थिंक दीज आर द टाइम्स जस्ट एज 1980s एंड 1990s, कि हम कैलकुलेटर से सीधा टेलीवाइज्ड कंप्यूटर्स के ऊपर चले गए। नहीं, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट अकॉर्डिंग टू मूर्स लॉ, द पर स्क्वायर इंच पे जो ट्रांजिस्टर्स फिट होने वाले ना, सिर्फ वो आगे जाके ज्यादा मात्रा में कैलकुलेशंस परफॉर्म कर सकते हैं। द लिमिटेशन ऑफ हार्डवेयर एंड द लिमिटेशन ऑफ टेक इंड्यूस्ड विद दैट हार्डवेयर विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम। I mean, from the
Yeah.
time when the first computer was invented to the time when iMac was introduced to the world, it was a big leap. But उसके बीच में छोटे छोटे components के inventions and innovations होते गए। तो हमें वैसे किसी भी leap को समझना चाहिए, foresee करना चाहिए, predict करना चाहिए और उस हिसाब से काम करना चाहिए। The problem what has happened with the hyped up idea of accelerationism is that they're not realizing that these kind of stuff is really time oriented. AR VR 2017 का सबसे hottest tech था. Every VC was pouring in thousands of crores of money in VR AR startups, not realizing कि VR was ahead of its time. हम उस टाइम तक we were just adapting to the whole smartphone ecosystem. We were adapting to new technologies, which was just a monumental shift. Like we went from keypad and touchpad smartphones to touch screens smartphones, and upgrades in the laptop, upgrades on the tablet bit. A lot of things were happening and we were just transitioning. The penetration was happening. AR/VR came just as another leap क्योंकि वहाँ के visionaries ने सोचा this is the next big thing. It
Big thing.
was the
Yeah.
next big thing. It was
But
just it was
not.
launched at the right time.
What time are you talking about? 2017.
Yeah, 2016-17 के आसपास
Ah.
Oculus आया था, and it was the hottest thing. I remember being so crazy about it. I used to read a lot of magazines that time. It was not a lot of internet era for me. तो मैं magazines Forbes में and Digit magazines and उसमें आता था, फॉर्च्यून में आता था, फॉर्च्यून 500 में मेंशन होता था द लेटेस्ट लाइक टेक ऑफ दिस वीक ऐसे करके, एंड
Yeah.
आई सॉ ऑकुलस रिफ्ट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, एंड there's a movie which also got amalgamated with this idea, and the movie is called Ready Player One. तो तू रेडी प्लेयर वन अगर मूवी तो देखेगा ना, तो उसमें क्या होता है, as soon as you wear a device, you get into that particular game as a real person. That is the whole movie. That is a AR VR movie. बहुत interesting sci-fi movie. All the sci-fi lovers will really love that movie. वहां से जोड़ के इंस्पिरेशन लेके Oculus, if you've seen that movie and imagine you seeing that particular device in real life, you'll be amazed, you'll be blown. Any nerd, any tech geek would be amazed by it. I was too. And at that moment I realized कि इसका यूसेज क्या है, मतलब किसी भी टेक प्रोडक्ट का ना एक रेलेवेंस यूसेज टाइमलाइन होता है कि ये इसी टाइमलाइन के अंदर अगर यूज हो पाया देन इट विल शूट अप, or else it will fail. I'll tell you a very interesting story with this particular idea of will Apple win the war or not, and why timing is so important, so crucial when it comes to tech. मैं एक रिसर्च कर रहा था आईक्यू के लिए, एंड I remember searching about all those failed innovations of this era. And I found out there was one invention which was so hyped up, which was so uh, discussed in the tech era, but it didn't make the market. It didn't went out. मतलब जितनी हाइप क्रिएट की गई थी, जितना प्राइस पॉइंट रखा गया था, इट नेवर वेंट आउट. 300 400 चीज उसके
हम्म.
बिकी थी. एंड आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट सेगवे. If you know what Segway is, Segway was a really important invention in the 2000 wala era when we were just being toddlers. I'll give you a context. IQ के किसी आर्काइव में है वो. हम कभी ना
खोल
कभी
के दिखा
उसको.
देना साथ में कंप्यूटर पे.
क्या? अब वो कहीं होगा
चल.
यार. हम टाइम वेस्ट करेंगे उसमें, मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, देखो.
हम्म.
हमारे आर्काइव में कहीं होगा जहाँ पे वी वर. So there's one division of IQ which talks only about inventions and the history of inventions in startup business tech. तो
हम्म.
सेगवे की स्टोरी हमें इतनी इंटरेस्टिंग लगी कि सेगवे वाज वन ऑफ दोज प्रोडक्ट्स, द ग्रिफ्टर जॉनरा, जो हमें बहुत अच्छा लगता है ब्रेक डाउन करना. Segway failed so miserably. It was hyped up as one of the beautiful invention of the 2000 era. It was a new way to locomote. It was a like new wave in the transportation industry. बहुत सारी चीज़ थी, but it didn't work out. It was a failed innovation because people didn't understand the relevancy usage timeline of that particular product. In the same
हम्म.
way, VR had a similar story in 2017. The relevant usage timeline was really messed up. And that's why it came, and big giants saw it. The tech giants already waiting to devour everything. They saw it, they seized the opportunity, and they bought it. Now what happened? 5 6 years आगे अगर हम fast forward होंगे, look what is happening. Apple Vision Pro, which is like a AR VR headset from the 2016 2017 era, is going to be the next biggest leap in computational technology. Do you get it? First, the technology was as big as your room, then it like shortened to your desk, then it shortened to your lap, then it shortened to your palm, and now it's shortened to your. मतलब the literal definition of technology being a natural extension of human being is now being possible. It is now going to be
हम्म.
stuck with you. मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं कि now you have a choice to pick up and drop. It will be on you. It will be latched on you. And
Yeah.
that, I think, is a very crucial, uh, I mean, a very sporadic element in the tech industry right now. Hum, as a generation right now, we are experiencing a renaissance in technology. If you don't realize it, then we all need to wake up. This is a renaissance that we are experiencing in entirety. इतने सारे इनोवेशंस हो रहे हैं, तो ध्यान से अगर तू ऑब्जर्व करेगा ना अपनी इन्वायरमेंट को, देख. हम रोबो, जो लाइक जनरेटिव इंटेलिजेंस से चलने वाले रोबोट्स हैं, हम उसको बनाना शुरू कर चुके हैं. वी ऑलरेडी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ फंक्शनल रोबोट्स इन आवर होम. वी आर सेटिंग इट अप जहाँ पे
Yeah.
दे आर डूइंग द मंडेन टास्क दैट ह्यूमन इज नॉट सपोज टू लाइक डू एवरी डे, और दे डोंट फील लाइक इट, सो दे आर एम्प्लॉइंग रोबोट्स. तो वो जो साईफाई में जो नैरेटिव था ना कि robots will take over, yes, it will take over all those mundane, tedious, laborious jobs. that we have been uh, we just find ourselves lazy enough to not do it. The renaissance is happening. That is what I'm going to say. And if you ask me, Apple is
Mm.
going to win the war. Anybody who controls the uh, human behavior alteration will win this war. Apple is doing yet another alteration in the human behavior interaction with technology.
Mm.
Don't you like foresee and realize it? That is what is happening. So that is what is going to happen. आप
Yeah.
इसको थोड़ा जूम आउट करके देखो, स्पेसिफिक्स में तू जाएगा तो तेरे को लगेगा AR VR, AI पिन, और ये Rabbit R1, these are just that small components in the biggest leap that is about to come. And that is my perspective. Apple Vision Pro को आपको ऐसे देखना पड़ेगा कि they are going to control how we interact with yet another new form of technology that they only built. So they're nothing new for them. A lot of things for us to adapt.
Yeah.
हम ही थे वो जो एक टेलीफोन जो टर टर करके चलता था, वहां से हम ब्लैकबेरी पे आए, ब्लैकबेरी से हम नॉर्मल स्मार्टफोन्स पे आए, मोटरोला के वो फ्लिप फोन्स आया, फिर एप्पल ने बोला कि ऐसे फोन यूज नहीं करते, टच करके फोन यूज करो. नाउ वी ऑल स्टार्टेड यूजिंग दैट टच वाला थिंग.
Mm.
And now Apple is again going to say that, dude, the touch is like the old thing. You don't need a surface to now interact with anything. You just need to look and feel it in the air. So yeah, they're altering our human behavior to how we're going to
Yeah.
interact with technology, and they're going to win it. So whoever does that is going to win it.
Mm.
What do you think? What is
I
your
I
perspective?
I don't think Apple looks at AI hardware as something separate from hardware in general. And that is why they're going to win, because when you think AI hardware, there's a lot of moving parts here. Some people are trying to master that form factor. Some people are trying to understand what is the next iteration of technology that will be accepted to human beings. Some people are just trying to fit their product in without understanding what a human being wants right now and in the future. So I I don't necessarily think innovation works that way. Apple thinks of innovation as, taking humanity forward by solving current problems. So in a iPhone, when iPhone was launched, it was solving for a very big problem. When Apple started, it was solving for a very big problem. It was like simplifying how information is personally consumed. So that is how Apple is going to see things in the future. Now we know, probably why they waited for this AR/VR thing is mainly because they were looking at it. Ki this is something that we just can't um, put something down people's throat, you know. मतलब, we just can't force them into something, right? I i don't know, like, I don't know your views about Humane or your views about Rabbit AI, but I just feel the form factor is not good enough to be a relevant um daily use personal device. It is good, it is something which is amazing, but I don't think it's going to go beyond tech geeks, because real technology is what everybody uses. Normal people going around uses. Um,
You know, इस पॉइंट को मैं ऐसे डिफाइन कर सकता हूँ कि एप्पल भी जब स्टार्ट हो रहा था ना, एंड द
mm,
फर्स्ट मदरबोर्ड लाइक द कंप्यूटर ऑन PCBs वर मेड, तो
yeah,
दे वर आल्सो कॉल्ड a hobbyist project. मतलब just some computer scientists or computer engineers are going to play with it and it won't
yeah.
work. So, like, what has happened now? We need to understand the fundamentals of how this particular pipeline works. Humane, particularly Humane AI, a brilliant. Matlab, I have been supporting Humane for the last 2 3 years. If you don't know this,
Mm.
I have like from the day when Imran Chaudhary, uh, came out with the idea कि हम separate हो रहे हैं Apple से, and this is what I'm going to work with. I was very bullish कि हाँ, they're going to do something cool. Why? Because there was one USP, one unfair advantage that Imran, as a ex Apple employee, had. He knew the trade secrets. He has been into that position. He has worked very closely with Steve Jobs, Johnny Ive. So he knew the trade secrets.
He knows how to master the form factor.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is it. And plus, he did that one good thing that any other ex-Apple employee does, building a beautiful team. Matlab, that is the
Mm.
philosophy that Steve Jobs has induced everybody to go for, like to shoot for the first ever if you go your way. Look at Johnny Ive. So Jonathan Ive, the greatest designer that the world has seen, accordance to the products that he has created, he has
Mm.
this agency kind of setup which is called Love From. That is a design agency. He works on
I
projects on
love the
contract.
website.
There is no
Like I've
website.
seen their website.
Yeah, there is no website. That's the whole idea of having Love From. Ki if we connect one on one, then we are doing something, or else there's no point. You can't contact any one of them like that.
Yeah.
Uh, what I'm trying to what I'm trying to propagate from here is that there will be a lot of uh, canals that are going to be made from one long flowing river, and people are going to have a lot of options to choose from once these canals are set. But for that canal to set, for everyone to be accessible to technology, we need to have a big flowy river. Do you do you get it? Like, until and unless there's not one big monumental force driving behind, like, towards it, a lot of people won't catch it up. For
Yeah.
example, if Apple is going to make a full screen without any bezels phone, so until unless Apple doesn't do it, not every other company is going to follow because of a lot of unfair advantage they have. They have a lot of R&D set up. They have a lot of resources set up. They have all the supply chain network set up. They're now building their own chips. So now that Apple has become self-sufficient, they have the advantage of pushing themselves towards something that all the people will follow. So that Apple
Hmm.
becomes that one big line of river and all the canals will be attached to it. So people might not be able to afford Apple, but sometime they would be able to afford, uh, call it any, like Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, OnePlus.
Yeah.
Apple strives. So this is just one placeholder when I say Apple. Any other company which has enough customer base to make everyone dive into one particular direction, everyone else will follow. And when that happens, that is how the entire human behavior will be altered. आज
But
Apple Vision Pro $3,500 का है.
हम्म,
आगे
हमेशा थोड़ी
जाके
रहेगा.
हमेशा नहीं रहेगा. But you also need to understand there is Facebook, Microsoft, everybody is sitting and watching what Apple is doing. Why? Because Apple patented this particular technology 2014 में. Now
Yeah.
imagine the AR VR era, when it really was the biggest hot selling cake at that time. Apple patented it. Apple was like, ठीक है, people are talking about it, but this is not the right time because they knew that they control the human behavior interaction with technology. They paid.
It's just about timing. I think you mentioned timing earlier, na? When you were
Yep.
saying that we were still in the smartphone, iPad acceptance era, and suddenly everybody is pumping money into AR VR in 2017. I started using VR in 2013, probably 2013 or 14. And when I used it, I was like, obviously, this is the future, and everybody's going to be on VR. And then when I learned about AR, I was convinced that AR is going to be the future of technology because everybody was just so pumped about VR at that time that nobody noticed that the best form factor integration in human. beings is going to be something which helps them transcend between realities. So that is what a mobile phone is doing right now, but it's a very primitive form in if you think about it. And the leap after VR, sorry, after AR is going to be direct communication through neural link. So this is just that middle binding factor. For it will be there for a few years, few say matlab at few decades, and then we are probably 1 decade, not more than that. Elon's not going to take that much time.
No, even not. Like, we don't have to rely on one person. I'll give you a better number.
Yeah.
Uh, there are two arguments that always come in India, right? Ki why is
Mm-hmm.
India focusing on more or building facilities to build up assembly lines rather than setting up a manufacturing unit? I've been reading about this a lot
Mm-hmm.
recently about the whole assembly line versus manufacturing unit debate. And we need to understand whoever controls the manufacturing will control the entire flow of how it propagates to the world. And
Right.
not even Elon. We have to trust that there are going to be a lot of people who are still underdogs. We don't know about them yet. Just because media has not glorified those accelerators, we can't just rely on one person. I mean, in the coming decade, it will happen. Why? Because India now as a workforce has started realizing the importance of uh, manufacturing, setting up a manufacturing unit and setting up an assembly line. You like, I mean, you could be the one who might be in the manufacturing setup, or I could be the one who could be in the manufacturing setup, and we shall accelerate that particular idea forward. That is what
Yeah.
I uh, feel will happen and should happen. So you don't have to rely on Elon Musk. Matlab, Elon Musk becomes a very small element in that advancement of technology. But this AR VR technology is really cool, and Human AI और Rabbit R1, ये सारी चीजें ना हमें इनको ऐसे समझनी पड़ेंगी कि these are nothing but just another ladder to get onto the level that we're trying to. Because
Mm.
when we talk about technology, there's this element of uncertainty. You never know what is going to be the end goal. I mean, what is going to be the peak of that technology? For example, can you tell me what is going to be the peak of smartphones?
I think we're already there.
Exactly. You never knew कि smartphones का peak कहाँ आएगा, but as soon as a leap of technology in the computational world, in the tech world happens, you'll never realize, and poof, it's gone. What happened to BlackBerry? What happened to uh, all those companies in the 2000 era when they were building flip phones, or they're building big computers, they're building a lot of tech stuff. And these are not
Mm.
constrained to just phones or smartphones. There are a lot of things. Look around.
Yeah.
Look around, from the watch to like AirPods to whatnot,
A lot of things
whatnot.
have happened. Yeah. But tell
Yep.
me something, when you were saying that uh 2017, 18, a lot of investment went into VR, AR, and everybody was just, hyped about this new technology. Um, I don't particularly blame them because I don't think that leaps are not possible. So if you think about it, um, when we were in the telephone era, मतलब वही वाला ऐसे chin 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 वाला telephone जो था, now bring up smartphone directly from there. Suppose it was possible to bring a smartphone directly, so don't you think there would be acceptance for that smartphone? Do we
How?
actually? अच्छा ठीक है,
How?
okay. Tell me something. Uh, isn't technology possible? मतलब, do humans adapt to the technology of current times, or do humans adapt to whatever form factor that suits human beings? So, for a very simple example, um, if you went directly from horse riding to a car versus you went from horse riding, horse cart, bullock cart, and then a car. Okay, instead of doing that cart, If you just went straight to a car, it provided convenience. It was, or like it was
I get you. I get you. I get the question which you're coming
yeah.
from. So, uh, here where it gets very interesting.
Mm,
Once something that we need to sit back and understand for the first principles, right?
mm,
Having a horse cart or a bullock cart or any form of uh, equipment that would move you from one place to another. We need to understand that it was more of how much time it takes to reach from one place to another rather than
yeah.
understanding which form through which I can get there. You get it? मतलब फोकस ये नहीं था कि किस गाड़ी से मैं पहुंच रहा हूँ, फोकस ये था कि मैं कब पहुंच रहा हूँ. So
Ah.
the purpose of the technology is not in the details, as they say, right? The devil's is in the details. It is not when it comes to technology. The technology was reducing the time of your travel rather than what form are you using to travel. So you
So the purpose
take
of
a
technology is solving for that convenience,
exactly.
making
There was a
life more
time,
convenient,
there was
right?
a time when your phone used to call the restaurant and the restaurant used to send you, or you need to pick up the food, or they used to send it to your home via their own sources. But look at what smartphone did. Now you can just tap two
Yeah.
clicks and the food will be delivered. You don't have to contact the owner of the restaurant with your phone, call them, use your energy or time. That is how the time curve is being maintained.
Machines, machine in any way is meant to reduce human effort. That is the
Yep.
basic definition. But now tell me, uh, what is something like a rabbit AI? And for context, I don't think a lot of our listeners would be understanding what we are saying. So
Hmm.
probably for context, we can just tell them what a humane is.
Hmm.
Humane is basically a AI pin. No, no, Humane is a company that creates AI technologies, but they have their first product is an AI pin, which gets pinned to your whatever, like a pocket or even a t-shirt. It's a very normal magnetic pin, and there's chat gpt inside it, and you can talk to it. It's There's chat gpt, right?
No, no, it's their own AI.
there but there's it's built on chat gpt. It's built on OpenAI's technology.
Did they mention it? I don't think so. So basically, how
I'll
this
check.
works, na? Ki, so ChatGPT is a propriety of OpenAI, right? And
Yeah.
OpenAI has this trained multi-model set with them which is called large language models. इसका मतलब ये होता है कि OpenAI के पास इतना डेटा है कि उस डेटा को वो एक मशीन के अंदर इन्फ्यूज करते हैं, ट्रेन करवाते हैं, एंड वो ट्रेनिंग कैसे होती है, दैट इज द इंटायर डेफिनेशन ऑफ आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, बिकॉज नो वन नोज कि वो कैसे ट्रेन हो रहा है. इट इज जस्ट अ गेम ऑफ री लर्निंग. एंड री थोड़ा टेक्निकल हो गया, इसको थोड़ा सिंप्लीफाई करते हैं. किसी भी मशीन को अगर मुझे ये बताना है कि आप ये पर्टिकुलर काम करके मुझे दो, तो उन्हें ना री लर्निंग के थ्रू बताया जाता है, विच इज द फॉर्म ऑफ हाउ ए आई इज बिल्ट. री लर्निंग ये होता है जैसे आप एक बच्चे को बताते हो ना कि आपको ये पर्टिकुलर गर्म चीज नहीं छूनी है, आपको छूने के बाद दर्द होगा. दिस इज अ री दैट यू डिड ऑन द किड. नाउ whatever behavior that kid plays with that particular hot object to the instruction that you gave कि इसको छूना नहीं है, अब उसको कैसे
हम्म
पता चलेगा कि इसको छूना नहीं है? छू के. So you're reinforcing that learning कि how this one particular baby
उसको
is going to understand.
पनिशमेंट
हाँ.
उसको पनिशमेंट मिलती है,
The reward
पनिशमेंट
and
से वो
punishment concept
या
is what makes reinforcement learning the basis of reinforcement learning. अब
राइट.
एक इंस्ट्रक्शन दिया आपने, ऐसे दुनिया में करोड़ों अरबों इंस्ट्रक्शंस होंगे, बिलियंस एंड ट्रिलियंस में इंस्ट्रक्शंस हैं डेटा सेट्स के फॉर्म में, जो एक बड़ा सा बैग बनाता है. उस बैग को हम कहते हैं लार्ज लैंग्वेज मॉडल. एंड वो मॉडल को उस इंजन के अंदर रीइंफोर्स किया जाता है ताकि वो इंजन ये समझ सके कि अगर ये मुझसे पूछा गया तो मैं क्या जवाब दूंगा, और मुझसे ये पूछा गया तो ये क्या मैं जवाब दूंगा. द रीजन वाई देयर वाज अ टाइम व्हेन चैट जीपीटी वाज मेंशनिंग कि मैं 2021 तक ही ट्रेंड हूँ, तो मैं वहीं तक आंसर दे सकता हूँ. अब ऐसा नहीं है, क्योंकि वो बड़े से बैग में जहाँ पे एलएलएम्स रखे गए थे उसके अंदर इंटरनेट भी अब सॉकेट ज्वाइन कर दिया गया है. अब वो इंटरनेट के थ्रू जाके कि अच्छा इतनी सारी चीजें इंटरनेट पे हो रही है, ये पूछा है तो मैं इंटरनेट से ये चंक निकाल के बता सकता हूँ। दिस इज ऑल इन ऑल द बेसिक्स ऑफ हाउ एआई वर्क्स। ह्यूमेन के बारे में बात करते हैं। ह्यूमेन ने एक हार्डवेयर टेक प्रोडक्ट बनाया, एआई अनेबल्ड। अब इसका क्या मतलब होता है, उनके पास भी बहुत सारे लार्ज लैंग्वेज मॉडल्स थे जो उन्होंने अपने मशीन के अंदर रीइंफोर्स करा के सिखाया कि ये डिवाइस क्या काम करने के लिए बना है, और उनसे जब ये चीज़
हम्म।
पूछी जाएगी तो वो क्या रिस्पॉन्स करनी चाहिए। एंड दैट इज द इंटायर स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एआई पिन। अब यहाँ पे ना थोड़ा अब ऐसे सोचना पड़ेगा कि द इंटरेक्शन ऑफ यू विथ योर स्मार्टफोन इज हाउ your smartphone is like this source of encyclopedia in your life, which anything that comes in your mind will be answered by the smartphone. That is the whole uh, connectivity with you and technology. You don't understand it, but that is the basics of it. Any idea you have has an answer fulfilled by that particular smartphone. You ask, they answer. That's the entire pipeline how it works, right? AI पिन ने क्या किया है, वो जो इंटरेक्शन हम स्क्रीन को देख के चार चीज सर्च करके जो हम अपने अपने अंदर की एनर्जी इन्फ्यूज करके जो हम ढूंढते हैं, एआई पिन जस्ट इरेडिकेटेड दैट बाय, एज आई सेड, लेबरस टास्क, टीडियस टास्क, ये सारे टास्क को कट शॉर्ट करके सिर्फ टू द पॉइंट बात जो आपने पूछा है वही आपको दे। दैट हैज बिकम द थिंग। चैट जीपीटी का चैट इंटरफेस क्या करता है, you search it on Google, you
ये
search it on ChatGPT. Google will give you 10,000 different things which you need to go and search for. ChatGPT just gives you the exact information of what you're looking for. That is what AI Pin is
yeah,
doing. The interaction of that particular technology is in a way where there is no screen. It is all audio and visuals. And that is what they're like saying. The acceleration in technology, छोटे छोटे components जो एक बड़े leap में काम आने वाले, वो यही है कि पहले हमें स्क्रीन से एडिक्ट कराया गया, अब टेक्नोलॉजीज बनेंगी विद द हेल्प ऑफ एआई। जैसे इंटरनेट की हेल्प से पूरी इंटरनेट का निर्माण हुआ था, वैसे ही ये सारे टेक्नोलॉजीज की मदद से हमारा वो स्क्रीन का एडिक्शन हटा के हमें और ज्यादा
नॉर्मल
टेक
लाइफ
इन्फ्यूज
चाहिए।
बनाया, हमें और ज्यादा एआई इन्फ्यूज बना जाएगा, क्योंकि हमें
या
कोई भी टीडीएस या लेबरस जॉब ना करने का बिहेवियर ऑल्टरेशन होने वाला है। That is what AI is
बट
trying. Human AI pin is trying to do. The same thing as Humane is Rabbit R1, the new technology that was launched in CES
बट दिस इज
2024.
जस्ट, दिस इज नॉट अ पेन, दिस इज अ हैंडल डिवाइस।
Yeah, same thing. Like, what's the difference? A human AI pin में तू touch करके रखेगा ना. It's like how Siri happens. You press the home button and Siri pops up, right? In the same way, you touch the human AI pin for a while and it will come to life. In the same fashion, you touch the
You
side button for R1 and they'll start responding to you.
Apple Watch.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So there was a lot of joke. You don't like if you're on if you're on Reddit, you'll realize कि yeah हमारे पास भी है AI pin. Like what's the difference? मैं भी ऐसे
Yeah,
बोल सकता हूँ, Hey Siri, what is the weather outside right now? It says that.
yeah.
So yeah,
So, will it take Apple 2 minutes to iterate Siri onto something like ChatGPT and create a
a
human a bit?
fun, fun question, because what is the recent
Because
news in the industry right
Imran
now?
Imran Chaudhary was the main person behind Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, he was also involved in a lot of projects, but here's an interesting news before we delve into that. That Apple has, I think, removed 100 plus employees from the Siri division and like added an ultimatum key, either you come to office or like leave or something like that. Something happened. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, the Siri team has been thrown out or something. I don't know. I need to check the news or something. But yeah, they have thrown out
Mm.
because I think now that uh, that comeback is due. It's heavily
AI
due.
division.
I wrote uh, I wrote a very good breakdown of Siri as a technology on our newsletter on iq.inc. You can check it out. बट एक जोक है जो बहुत ज्यादा भी टेक कम्युनिटी में चल रहा है, अगर देखो पता है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट जस्ट took over Apple as the most valuable company with just like slight numbers, right? So people are saying कि Apple is just one Siri update away to take back that spot because that is the only technology of Apple that is long due. जिनको नहीं पता है, Siri was a acquired startup that was introduced in iPhone. So it is not the Apple's creation, but Apple has modified it into being the most fundamental early AGI in your life, which was not well received, well used because Apple के खुद के philosophy की वजह से बहुत सारे constraints थे. आपको रीजन पता चलेगा कि why Siri as a technology from Apple failed. Check out my newsletter, it will be cool. But coming back to what
L-
you said, na?
Link it in the description.
हाँ, लिंक विल बी इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन. यस यस, ये सब भी करना पड़ता है
हाँ.
क्योंकि यूट्यूब.
Hmm.
बट या हाँ, यू व्हाट्स योर पर्सपेक्टिव ऑन दीज काइंड ऑफ हैंड हेल्ड डिवाइसेस, जो डिवाइसेस आपके साथ चिपके रहे हैं, एप्पल विजन प्रो. व्हाट आर योर थॉट्स?
Apple Vision Pro, so obviously it's going to be hit, and it's going to work because that it is meant to work. That form factor it has, matlab, the only biggest problem would be the heaviness of the form factor right now. But over time, they are going to work on it and they're going to make it as small as a glass, like something like this. And once that is done, I think there's no company in a better position than Apple to do that. So Vision Pro is done. Vision Pro is the future. Vision Pro is going to be their iPhone. They're just in their probably their 1997 Mac phase that okay,
Hmm.
they have to launch a product, okay, and they have to be out there. They have to be uh, personal computer space, and they have to be innovative. They have to be new, and that is what they've already done. But now what is going to happen, they will find their iPod from there, they will find their iPhone, and they will create that. So
So history is
it's
going to be
just,
repeated. That is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
I don't, because there's been multiple companies, Leap Motion, if you've known, I think. um, I think that was the name. There's been even in India, Geo Tesseract is there. They're making Geo Class. There's there's so many companies who've been working on this form factor since ages. It is an accepted form factor. The only problem is the technology aspect of it. How do you fit technology in a glass? So ultimately, Apple is going to do it, and they're going to rule the market. But there will be a huge shift everywhere else.
And
So,
I like to put with the thought
mm,
that you just mentioned. I like to put a perspective out there and more like a motivation for our watchers if they reach to this point, is that it's not just Apple. There are going to be a lot of disruptors in the market. Like if you I can give you a lot of failed disruptors, but yeah, they put their mark and they left. I mean,
yeah,
uh, dying and being born is the part of any startup cycle,
I think
but
there will be a lot of disruptors, but Apple's philosophy in product making has been very simple since a lot of time, since their inception actually, that they don't like even if they mention they invent stuff, they don't necessarily invent stuff. They are basically the end outcome takers of it, of technologies.
the finishers
So
of
mm,
the era. That is how
exactly,
I
and
can.
once they do it, they they have a very strong tendency to create a lock hold towards it. So when Apple Watch started, there were a lot of competitors like Pebble. There were a lot of there was Sony. I loved their watch. Sony was there,
There
and
was Amazon's Fitbit, a very profound company at that time.
Fitbit was Amazon's. Now
Yeah,
it's Google's.
Yeah, it gets transferred from here to there.
Transfer.
It's a
Okay.
Silicon Valley, anyways.
So there was Jarman, which is
Yeah,
which is still there, and all these smartwatch companies were there, and Apple just came in, just and at the end of that phase, they took over the market because that is what they do. And it was explained very nicely by Carl in an interview with Technical Guruji, I think. Not an interview. He was walking with Technical Guruji in Indian tech shops. And inside the tech shops, he uh, Guruji asked him, I'm calling him Guruji, but whatever his name is, Gaurav, I think.
Gaurav,
Gaurav.
yeah.
Yeah.
चलिए.
चलिए शुरू करते हैं. तो गौरव ने उससे पूछा कि काल व्हाट इज द नेक्स्ट थिंग दैट यू बिल्डिंग एंड नथिंग. So he said, we're going to iterate, we're going to build whatever there is. And he never mentioned invention. He never mentioned that we are going to build the next big thing. And then he told Guruji that we will never create form factor. We will come in at the end of the wave and scoop up the market. And that's exactly what Apple's philosophy has been. So right now, probably they they know they have to start this industry. That is it. And once that is done, most of the technology will be created by others. And once that is done, these people are going to take it. Thank you. We'll take it from here. Voila.
Yeah. बहुत ही लाइक फैसिनेटिंग है। इसमें मैं दो आइडिया रखना चाहता हूँ यहाँ पे। सबसे पहले
Mhm.
तो जो तूने कहा ना कि वाई एप्पल हैज ऑलवेज बीन ऑन द एज ऑफ कमिंग इन देयर एट द लास्ट फिनिशिंग एंड स्कूपिंग अप एवरीथिंग बिफोर देम, the lock-in thing that you were trying to talk, and the answer of why Apple has a such like Apple has such power to do that, to move industries, to raise the industry standard, it's because of their ecosystem, because they have a laddering to their ecosystem. And what do I mean by this? Uh, if you buy an Apple Watch, you can't go without buying an iPhone because that is how it
Mm.
has been embedded. Now that you have an iPhone and an Apple Watch, you tend to the behavior your works is like you might be an athletic person. That is why you're having a watch. Why? Because you need to track your steps, you're health conscious, you're trying to be fit. So if you're out there with your phone and with your watch, you might listen something. The wired headphone works. But what if you had a wireless component attached to you, which is not hindering in your movement? Bang, there's AirPods right in your pocket. When you have these
Yeah.
three ecosystems, slowly and gradually, after your health and holistic things are taken care of, you'll enter your workspace. What do you need? You need the next station to work on, workstation. You'll have a MacBook. While you're working on MacBook, you need to transport somewhere else. You'll take the MacBook or you'll take a smaller computer, which is called an iPad. Do you see the ecosystem that they're locking you in?
Mm.
That is their ultimate industry USP that no one can actually, you know, shake it. We as thought so. This was the first idea. The second idea is that you mentioned Kalpe. Uh, I mean, I have never met a person so enthusiastic about the vision or so propelled about the idea of innovation from the recent times. But I'll be very honest. I love Kalpe. I have been following Kalpe from the inception of while he was working at a different company before OnePlus, which was I think Oppo. He was working in Oppo, and then he cut out, and then he started OnePlus. His whole community, I was part of it. I had the
Mm.
OnePlus One when it came to India in that flash sale, and I've always been a lover of hardware, particularly. And yeah, I had it and I knew exactly what it's going to be. Then he had another chapter, which is right now happening. And when you mentioned this interview, I remembered the entirety of his philosophy about nothing. And I love the name because his naming conventions are also like how I put labels to names, right? IQ.
Yeah.
What is IQ? I'm just trying to elevate Indian brains in that way, right? So it might be having a very different philosophical name, but the vision is very clear. And nothing just makes it more. attractive, creative. I salute Carl Pei for making a entry in a space which is dominated by giants. So basically, this is the Apple moment for nothing. IBM, let's go back to 1970s. IBM was like this giant in the tech industry. They had these great supply chains, big assembly and manufacturing units. They were basically the Goliath in the industry. Everything technology was controlled by IBM. Then what happened? Apple
Yeah,
came, swept in with whatever they were doing with a simple touch of personal innovation, something that no one else was trying to do. Challenged IBM to their own home ground and defeated them. And when I see Carl's Pay vision and technology, he did the same. He swept in with a very small product. He came with year ones. So before starting anything, before like leaping onto the next line of products, he made a simple earphone for the most accessible, the most accessible of people. What
yeah,
happened then? People adapted to the design language that nothing had. Kalpe's business acumen is something that I'm really fond of. I really like him as a person. I really like what he's doing with nothing. And what he did with the Nothing Phone 1 and Nothing Phone 2, you already know. In the
mm,
Android segment, I don't talk much about Android because it sucks. But you look at Nothing's design philosophy and the design thinking went behind it, you'll realize that they really are onto something. If that company survives for the next 5 years, Nothing is going to take over as the giant of the next decade or so. I can bet you on
yeah,
that because he has he has the knack of picking what people want. And we're talking about the mass market, something which Steve Jobs really tried to concede himself from. It's the mass market. So he's basically like a combination of
yeah.
um Tim Cook and Steve Jobs under one shelter. And I
And
think we
he will
have,
do great things.
yep, yep.
Now tell me something. As builders, is it better to build like become starting points or to become ending points?
I'd like to ask
Because
you this first. What
uh,
do you think?
I think most people are very attracted to that first mover's advantage. I don't necessarily think that exists in all industries, especially not hardware. So when we're talking specifically about hardware, um, I like to have Kalpe's approach because if you don't have that approach, it's very difficult to survive. Uh, Innovation, invention is a good thing. Bringing in new form factors, taking humanity forward is a good thing. But then you also have to build a business. If all your effort is if all your effort goes into understanding human beings and trying to change tweak their personalities, tweak what they normally like, naturally like, it becomes very difficult to build a business out of it. So, or you have a backing for the next 20 years that you have enough money to survive for next 20 years and you can still build a business out of it. Something like Spotify. They have been loss making for 20 years and they don't care about it. Amazon had that first movers advantage and they have been they lost money for 19 years and they made money later. So it's like that. Or hardware में it's very difficult because बार बार बनाना बार बार चेंज करना even for nothing they they are not innovating in hardware, they're not changing anything, they're just changing the status quo of Android phones and taking over that Android market slowly. I'm seeing nothing so much now, and the fact that it does not have superior technology to any other Android phone right now, and still people are buying it, is is
So
actually
here,
making me
here's
understand what what nothing is trying to do and how nothing is happening there Apple moment. But yeah, the question again comes back to you. What do you think in hardware particularly,
In
is it
the
good to be starter
in
or an
the
endpoint?
in the correction of what you said, nothing is trying to just serve a cultish audience right now. Like we don't realize it, but still the market has been dominated by big players like Samsung, Oppo, and Vivo in the smartphone market.
Hmm.
Right? And if you don't know the penetration of Samsung, surprisingly, it is very higher than any other mass market that you can see. When we talk particularly about Apple, we're talking about the market value, like what kind of value it's generating from its market that it has been induced in. But when you talk about Samsung, the mass market they have captured is impeccable. They just know how to, like, infuse that mass market needs with high quality uh, technology, because they both have the advantage over each other.
Yeah.
Samsung is a hardware producer. It is also a software producer. They also have connection to all their supply chains. They also make things. They are manufacturers. They have their own supply chain. So basically, they are just another, in an arena, you need a competition to survive. So Apple needs to have a Samsung in the smartphone uh, arena so that they have that kind of push to take the leap and have a
Yeah.
technological innovation move forward. But we can learn from a lot of unprecedented winners, which we use, see, and understand in everyday life, but we don't appreciate enough. I'll tell you. This question of starting point and end point, आपको कहाँ होना चाहिए? As builders, where you should be. Uh, three ways to three ways to look at it. The first way, if you have an impeccable idea, like an idea that has never been done before, which is very rare, इसलिए मैं पहले mention कर दे रहा हूँ क्योंकि ये सबसे पहले reject होगा. If you have such a rare idea that has never been seen in the world before, then you should always start. Go for it. Don't stop. A lot of examples. Boston Dynamics, WhatsApp. Never seen before technology in your hand. Go for it. रोबोट्स
Yeah.
उस वे में देखा ही नहीं था आज तक, जब तक बॉस्टन डायनामिक्स ने वो ही नहीं बनाया था, ढांचा ही नहीं बनाया था, स्केलेटन ही नहीं बनाया था. इंडिया में बहुत सारी कंपनीज है. देयर इज दिस लाइक प्रोटोस्फिंक्स, aka Shashank Dikshit has talked about this a lot about Indian manufacturing space and how all these accelerations in India also happened in the 2000 era, but a lot of people don't know it because the coverage didn't happen that way. MKO करके एक company है that is very fascinating to me right now. They make military equipments and supply the whole world something. So in this manner, I just don't remember MKO का पूरा info. You can search for it. अगर आपके पास, so the first way is if you have something extraordinary, something really revolutionary, something like Wright brothers did. Like they thought of flying and they invented that prototype of a plane. So yeah, they were the first person,
Yeah.
the starting point of human innovation, invention of the modern era. Right? The plane was invented not long ago. If you know this, right? Plane को ज्यादा टाइम नहीं हुआ इन्वेंट हुए हुए. Uh, and a fascinating story. IQ is going to cover it in the inventions. मैं बहुत सारी inventions वाली चीज पढ़ रहा हूँ, तो that is why a lot of thoughts has been popping
Hey,
in my
but
brain.
एक चीज बता, राइट डिड राइट ब्रदर्स क्रिएट अ बिजनेस आउट ऑफ इट?
No, this is the most fascinating bit. This is what I'm coming on the second way. If you WhatsApp is also not making business out of what they created, but there's value attached to it. If that didn't happen, today we won't be uh, having
But
that.
WhatsApp wanted to, right?
They
They
wanted
had
to,
a company set up.
they couldn't because Wright brothers invented something ahead of its time, which took time for people to adapt. See, जब
Yeah.
need of the hour होती है ना, तो कोई भी innovation becomes a necessity. That acceptance
Hmm.
happens quickly. For example,
So,
this
so basically,
wait,
what you're
uh,
trying to say is, every right now, everything that is new wants to be a business, and that is why we need that
that is why
audience
most people
access.
fail. That is
That's
why
why
most
most
people
people.
fail
Yeah.
because Wright brothers. let's talk just about the invention part only. Invention happened, it didn't happen with the intention of making or generating business out of it. Different players, as I told you, the timeline of
Hmm.
taking that big leap के बीच में छोटे छोटे components आते गए ना, using what was already created to create something that is not existing right now. इन्वेंशंस की बात हो रही है तो ट्रॉली कार्ट के बारे में बात कर. ट्रॉली कार्ट invention made to like move your stuff within the store. Who invented it? Who made a business out of it? No idea. It still exists. The
Hmm.
invention happened. The business aspects come later, and that is where the first step is really a difficult entry barrier that it poses. क्योंकि आप हर दिन कुछ ना कुछ नया नहीं बना
Hmm.
सकते जो एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करता है. But the second way, the second way is looking at what uh, already has been made and just adding your idea into it. For example, you have a car. You see a car which is four-seater, has big long body and all. Just attach a rocket engine into it and it becomes an F1. You can think in that way. So the second way to look at it, you're not at the starting point, you're not at the end point, you're in the
Yeah.
middle. Something that what we all are trying to do. I'll tell you how this is possible. There was
So
WhatsApp, then there was
just a
Telegram.
second. इसी
Huh.
point पे है मेरा एक चीज. So when you're saying that, you know, everything is based on business, everything like is based on basically inventing something and taking a benefit out of it, right? Because the world has become capitalistic. Um, Wright brothers probably didn't take that advantage. The trolley makers didn't take the advantage of their invention, and someone else did.
But
So,
they didn't knew
but
na ki what was the usage going to be. They created it with some other intention.
बट
That
आजकल सब लोग उसी इंटेंशन से क्रिएट करते हैं कि
यही
आई
तो
विल
दिक्कत
टेक
है.
द एडवांटेज ऑफ. So do you
Yeah.
think the tech, because of this kind of thinking, technology progress slowing down? We could have
Yep.
progress much faster because we have more of entrepreneurs than engineers and scientists.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
argument of why we have more of generalist and less of specialists is always going to, the gap is always going to increase. And this is a very good point that you made, ki uh, just because people have now started, so the thinking process has cut short. Matlab, it is
Hmm.
not thinking from what purpose, no, it is not starting from what all new I can do, it is starting from what purpose it can solve.
Yeah.
Although it's like if you enter a mathematical equation and start solving it from the middle, you'll never know you were right or wrong. It just worked out in a snap, and that is where all of the problem is. I'll tell you how this works. Matlab, the conditioning of how invention has been adulterated in the middle of that leap timeline, which we are a part of right now, which we really need to realize and change, is in COVID. It was a very big accelerator. A lot of people lost their lives. A lot of people were going through agony. But the builders, not thinking from the aspect of what new we can do, they just latched onto the idea of how things can be made better, which is the narrative right now. Steve Jobs की 10,000 इंटरव्यूज उठा के 4 वर्ड्स एडजेक्टिव्स उठा के आपने अपनी स्पीच एंड विजन तो बना लिया है. बट the way it is propagated in COVID, the need of the hour was कि जल्दी जल्दी सामान पहुंच जाए. How what was
Hmm.
born out of it? Quick commerce.
Yeah.
10 minutes delivery, 5 minutes delivery. This was born out of that atrocity. So, internet, say वो e-commerce aspect, say the accessibility to the internet, plus the penetration in Indian market, all of that was set up in the timeline, and the need of the hour said 10 minutes delivery. So the whole supply chain was set, and the technology was pushed forward. Right, this is one aspect. In the same fashion, for the Wright brothers that we were talking about, the plane was made. The need of the hour was no one know how to use it because it was not safe, not commercially accepted, not people don't had any idea how to move because they had never seen that kind of leap before. Then the builders started thinking कि इसको हम use करके कैसे मदद कर सकते हैं. How? So they narrated it that will reduce the time of traveling. All right. What we need to do with that, we'll take Wright brothers ideas, we'll mass produce it, we'll produce it so that it solves a problem, which is the middle point thinking. And voila, what do we have? We have aeroplanes all around us. Now, the next
Yeah.
set of builders, rather than building a flight technology, we're going to build what? We're going to build weapons out of aeroplanes. We're going to build spy craft out of these inventions that happened a long time ago. The middle point thinking. And this is what really, fascinates. So, for example, there was a way to talk to each other. There was SMS, there was email, WhatsApp came along, the middle point thinking. What did WhatsApp do? You don't have to waste your money. You don't have to wait for the reply. Just instantly talk back and forth, just like you do while you have a conversation one on one. The technology made things easier, but the repercussion is in the moral sense. We got more distance than ever. Now, if I have to
Hmm.
ignore you, I don't have to face you. I can just not pick up your calls and block you instantly. Do
Yeah.
you see the middle point thinking what it has made us? This is the second way, the one that is working right now because it is socially and mass widely accepted. People are going to follow this approach. 95% of the people fall in this category right now. There was Google will make a better search engine. There was uh, what do we say? There was there was mice to click will make a better one, right? There were earphones will make a better one. That middle point thinking is where we are. There's a saying in Fight Club, a movie very dear to me. It says ki advertisement has us chasing things that we don't want. Great clothes, great
Mm.
car, great XYZ, money, etc. We don't realize that we are the middle child of history right now.
Yeah.
Don't you feel it? Like the history that is going to be written from 100 years ahead, we're going to be the middle child. We're playing that role. This middle point thinking is what making us stagnant in the history timeline that we are going to contribute to in the coming few years. I mean, I'll tell you some exceptional middle point thinking that will take us to the end point, because the third way is the most crucial and important way, and most of the technological innovations happened in that end point, the third way that I'm going to talk. Before that, examples of how exceptional middle point thinking is getting near to endpoint thinking, and ultimately is a innovation in pushing humanity forward. There's a company called Blueprint, which is backed by veteran entrepreneur, billionaire, multi-millionaire Brian Johnson. And what Blueprint is trying to do, uh, they're trying to have science back evidences of how
Mm.
to increase humans' longevity. An amazing
Yeah.
idea, right? And how are they like propagating this? They have taken the test subject as the founder himself. He said that if I want to accelerate humanity, and his vision is like, I don't want people to die, I want people to live. So that particular, like what, 55, 60-year-old entrepreneur is now aging back with all of the resources that he has garnered to date. He's middle point thinker right now. He's making people feel that, yeah, immortality is a thing. You have to think about
Yeah.
immortality. You can never die. He has started that first incepted idea. And slowly and gradually, we will take this idea and move to the end point by, just as you said, right? Neuralink. We take the blueprints vision and we induce the Neuralink idea to blueprint. And imagine, like, if you, like, for example, not you or me, like, any person in the world dies, will store everything in that Neuralink, will induce it into your clone or any other person. They will have all of your memories and everything that you did for your lifetime. That is immortality. Like when people talk about how humans are going to be immortal, this is how it is to be done. You clone yourself and you transfer all of your data to uh, the other
Some other
clone,
body.
and yeah,
Yeah.
you're saved. That is how you live the legacy. That is how you take your legacy forward. A lot of sci-fi movies cover this, a lot of things, and Brian Johnson is the first person to accelerate it in that manner. So yeah, that is one example.
We'll talk about Brian Johnson in detail the next time because I'm reading a lot about him and his
There's a
company.
book, you should read his book. It's called Don't Die. Under his pseudonym, he calls himself Zero because
Zero. Yeah.
he says कि first principle तो first principle से सब सोचते हैं. Like everybody is now finding a romance in this idea of first principles. There's a thing called zeroth principle, like a principle that comes before the fundamentals, and that is what he
Yeah.
is trying to do, right? So yeah, he calls himself
Got it.
Zero. वो book पढ़ना बहुत अच्छी है, Don't Die, and that is has become his mission. Like I'll I'm using technology and science to have evidences backed so that I can age back, and just like me, a lot of people can age back. In the end, बहुत सारे
Got
इंडियन
it.
entrepreneurs कहेंगे कि भाई फार्मा कंपनी है, but
फार्मा हाँ
there's a lot of
एक्चुअली इंडिया में ये बहुत ज़्यादा माइंडसेट है और हम लाइक बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम बचा नहीं है अब हमें बात
हाँ
करने का
यार,
बट लाइक लास्ट चीज़ मैं अपने साइड से तो ये बोलूँगा कि इंडियन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स का बहुत ज़्यादा माइंडसेट वो प्रॉफिट वाला हो गया है ना नॉट एवरीथिंग
मिडिल पॉइंट थिंकिंग.
या एवरी नॉट एवरीथिंग हैज टू बी अबाउट शॉप मतलब आप शॉपकीपर नहीं बन रहे हो आप गले पे नहीं बैठ रहे हो हर चीज़ में कोर्स प्रॉफिट इज इम्पोर्टेंट बट doing new things and taking humanity forward without even taking the credit for it probably and probably failing I don't think Silicon Valley
Yeah.
में जो भी लोग चीजें बना रहे हैं they don't care about failing mostly तो वो जो थिंकिंग आ जाती है ना वंस यूर इन दैट फेज कि यार कुछ भी होगा हम बना के रहेंगे हम नहीं बनाएंगे तो कोई और बनाएगा आगे जाके बट हमारी जो जिस पॉइंट तक हम पहुंचा देंगे इसको हिस्ट्री में उसके बाद आगे चले जाएगा अ वेरी गुड एग्जांपल इज टोनी फडेल की एवरीबॉडी इज आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हैव रेड दैट बुक बिल्ड
Build.
तो उसमें उसने बोला कि माई हिस्ट्री हैज बीन आई वाज अ वर्कर एट सम प्लेस एंड देन probably Philips में था ना Philips didn't support his idea that much and then he came to another company I forgot the name उस कंपनी में they built
Panasonic.
no it was a
He,
startup
नहीं नहीं, he was in Panasonic.
he was in Panasonic and then he came to a startup
Hmm.
General Magic I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah. GM,
something like
GE, हाँ, something like this.
हाँ ठीक है
GE में था शायद.
now they were creating it wasn't वो जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक से रिलेटेड वाला नहीं था वो
नहीं नहीं, this
लाइक
is
एक
different.
स्टार्टअप
हाँ, this is
या
different. हाँ.
तो समथिंग मैजिक जनरल मैजिक या समथिंग एंड देन ही वेंट ऑन ही वाज लाइक fuck them I'm going to start my own startup and he created his own startup and they failed basically but they were failing at that time he got a consultant offer from Apple, Steve Jobs directly. And then he came to Apple and he thought that from that he can pay for his employees' salary from that consulting job. And he was actually doing that. So suddenly he got involved into Apple's thinking, Apple's ecosystem, Apple's team, and then they built the iPod. So he was trying to build the iPod since probably 20 years before the iPod actually happened. And then finally he built the iPod. So that's how a person's thinking should be. It should not be कि I have to take the credit for it. I have to build everything. I just have to try and get this done to a level that is uh is humanly possible from my side I have to do my best and then take things forward अब वो चीज चले वो पैसा कमाए वो ये भी करे हर चीज पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाती बट आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी को लेके कोई और आगे कुछ बना सकता है एंड दैट इज हाउ दैट इज हाउ वी शुड थिंक अबाउट इट दैट्स हाउ वी शुड बिल्ड इंडिया बिकॉज एक के ऊपर एक चढ़ के ही बनाएगा कुछ तो हमारे में क्या हो रहा है हम ही सबसे ऊपर पहुंचने
He
वाले
means metaphorically. एक के ऊपर एक.
Yeah.
बट पता है, देखो यहाँ पे भी दिक्कत है, मतलब जो भी यंगलिंग्स हमें सुन सुन रहे हैं ना, लाइक ये मेरी पार्टनर ने मुझे सिखाया है. लाइक माई को फाउंडर, शी इज वेरी like clear about this idea where I get a lot of confused and have clouded thoughts. She made me understand the difference between a business builder and an entrepreneur. She classifies as a business builder, and I classify as an entrepreneur. And why do I say this? And this is something very important for you, for me, and for
Hmm.
everybody to understand. ये जो तूने बोला
Hmm.
ना कि लोग बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉफिट के पीछे भागते, इट इज फाइन, लाइक दैट इज हाउ इट इज सपोज टू बी इफ यू आर बिल्डिंग अ बिजनेस. When there's a business ka
Yeah.
B, then there has to be a profit ka P. वरना there's no point building a business. Business का fundamental behavior ये होता है कि आपके पास कुछ बेचने के लिए होना चाहिए, और
Hmm.
सामने वाला जिसको आप बेच रहे हो वो खरीद ले आपसे, एंड उसके बदले आपके साथ एक ट्रांजैक्शन करे. That is the entire fundamental philosophy of a business. So if you're building a business, profit is important. That is not middle point thinking. That is you just relying on the first principles of something that you're building. But if you're an entrepreneur, and this is where the difference is, the entrepreneur never starts the idea or incepts an idea by thinking that I'll make money out of it. They start the idea of either accelerating or helping or having the first movers advantage or just creating something out of their own will, which is like the first and the second and the third way of either you are at the start or at the middle point or the end of the thinking,
Hmm.
right? If you understand the fundamental difference between an entrepreneur and a business builder, which I am both right now, currently, I have a business aspect to my uh, IP, my name, which is like I have a business being built, my personal branding agency, the people company, and then I have an entrepreneurial venture that I'm trying to do, which is IQ. So IQ is not making money, it is not making profit. So until that, it is just an entrepreneurial pursuit. But the people company is making money, and that becomes my business. So I'm an entrepreneur and a business builder. I am trying to accelerate humanity, and also I'm trying to make profit. That's the clear difference between that. And people need to realize, इसको confuse मत कर देना कि middle point thinkers and profit बना रहे दोनों
Yeah.
same है.
Yeah.
And we
What I
come,
meant by shopkeeper
hmm,
mentality is that that you can't build things unless it creates profit. मैंने सबसे best example दिया था टोनी फटेल का. He struggled. His life was like full of struggle, and he lost a lot of hair because of it probably. But
oh,
yeah, but at the end, what he wanted to do was get that iPod, and then he made the iPhone, then he made the iPad. So everything turned out okay. So that is something. I won't say everybody can be Steve Jobs, but everybody can be Tony Fadell. And anybody can be Tony Fadell because everybody can try to do that. So instead of just thinking in one way कि यार इससे तो पैसा नहीं बना पा रहे तो इसको छोड़ देते हैं करना, ये नहीं होना चाहिए. Whatever is in your mind, whatever you want to build, उसको छोड़ना नहीं है. We have at FinFlow, we failed 3 times to build the product. It's a very simple product, and yet we failed because we're a very new team. We don't know how to build that product, and we are iterating, we are thinking again, and but we're not leaving it. So I think that is a very important aspect of it. Probably that product never makes money. We are making money through other sources, and our our other products are there. We think of things like in a very different way, but that particular thing is in our mind always because that is what we think for um
that
in
is
a
what
in a
makes FinFlow FinFlow. I
yeah that
mean,
is yeah that is why we started, and that is why that's the basis on which we think our business will also expand. But even if it doesn't, I won't have any regrets because we built a business out of whatever we're doing right now as well.
so
So
see, that is the role that you oscillate between, right? You're
yeah,
an entrepreneur on one side and you're a business builder on the other side.
yeah.
That is how the shift should be. This is the vicious cycle, पता है? And there's a book that I have been reading to have some clarity over this one particular thing. Ki this book is called The E Myth Revisited. This is an entrepreneurial myth के ऊपर है, and it is a very brilliant, brutal book. A lot of
Yeah,
truth bombs in it. कि any
I need to
person is,
read it. It's
हाँ,
in a Kindle. Yeah.
and it talks about there are three kinds of people in the working world, in the building world, right? There's a technician, there's a manager, and then there's the leader or the entrepreneur,
Mm.
right? And if these three types of people, if you categorize in any one of them, and if you try to move to other role, that is where everything fails for you. A
Mm.
technician should never play the role of a manager. A manager should never play the role of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur shouldn't play a role of the manager or the technician. And this is what has happened, and we have seen it happening in front of our eyes, in our network itself. I've seen a lot of people being a technician, which is like they have a lot of knowledge about this one particular set, and they feel they have a myth that they can build a
Mm.
business or a company out of it. And voila, they try to become a manager and an entrepreneur and they fail.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a very beautiful book. Either read it on audio or read it physically on Kindle. It's a brilliant read. I revisited it. The book is called Revisited, and I revisit it every single time when I have some doubts of building my uh, companies. To which I just mentioned Kindle, and the third way, again, I'll come back. The third way, the end point, is something that how you build it like Kindle. So Kindle is that one form of technology that has never gone out of business. Do you know why? Because it started, or it was germinated. It was born with the idea that this is how people are going to read books for the next 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 years.
They were sure.
They were sure.
Yeah.
Kindle was that one piece of invention, like right from their logo. I'm a design, uh, like call me a design addict, call me a font addict, call me that nuance addict. But have you seen Kindle ka logo?
Mm.
Yeah, Kindle ka logo has three components. There's a tree, there's a child, and there is a book.
Yeah.
And that is everything that Kindle signifies. I might be romanticizing the entire logo of it, but if you look at it, it just signifies that, yeah, the tree is never going to go, the person reading it is never going to go, and the book is never going to perish. So, what do
So
you have?
they were like Jeff and his team were sure that this is going to be a success because
Yup,
they
yup.
created it into something. Yeah.
So, every aspect in this leap of the pipeline, they checked it right off. They
Mm.
created a product that will alter human behavior for their lifetime
Mm.
first. They also created it on the backbone of how a business is built while there is a product to
Right.
sell. They didn't build the Kindle first. So they were not starting point thinkers. They didn't build Kindle while they saw that there is a rise in the traffic and they used to monetize more of the stuff. Middle point thinkers. They
Yeah.
didn't try to accelerate or solve a problem. They were the end point thinkers. They took out the human emotion out of people and knew that this is how it's going to be. I'll tell you how. Uh, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you have to buy something? अरे Amazon पे देख लेना है क्या उस पे? And this happens a lot of times. If you're in a bookstore, I don't think so. Like I do it a lot. I'm in a
मैं तो
bookstore
करते
and
ही
I
हूँ because
search the book and I see the book and I'm like Amazon पे देख लेता हूँ जल्दी से क्या है और कार्ट में डाल लेता हूँ तो मैं ले लूंगा. They understand the accessibility that it has created. Amazon altered the behavior because Amazon was a customer first company rather than any other idea, vision, or everything, right? When they were customer oriented, they knew that the starting point doesn't have to be a product that is shoved onto your face. It needs to happen subtly. While you're on Amazon, you'll buy something. Perfect. What are you buying? Anything. A to Z product, which means that you might be buying. So it started with a bookstore only, right? But now that Amazon expanded, let's understand it from the fundamentals. You can buy anything from Amazon. What are you mostly buying from Amazon? Books, because it is sasta on Amazon. How do we understand, how do we pick up the data points from this particular behavior on our website and then use it to give the customers the experience that they want to? They're buying books. That is a physical book. The storage is the problem, the quality is the problem. There could be a lot of XYZ problems in your hand. How about the books that you buy from our store comes to a concentrated place in a basket which is yours. It never goes to anywhere else. There's no storage problem. There's no functionality problem. There is no access problem anywhere in the world. You are, you can read it. You can read a book. Do you get it? We understand the whole data point matrix that they created in order to actually infuse it as the end point thinkers.
Mm.
Kindle is one of the best inventions that we have seen in our time. Like, as I said, we are in a technological renaissance, and Kindle is going to be at the top of the list. There are a lot of
Mm.
inventions, and Kindle is going to take that spot. Evergreen. You can
Right.
a Kindle will
We
never
can
die because Kindle sparks fire, something like that. You can romanticize it all you want.
we can talk about Kindle in detail because I have a lot to talk about
Kindle.
in the next one.
Yep.
And I think we can come to the end of this one. We're already part time. 47
Yeah,
minutes. Yeah,
we we really enjoy these kind of, you know.
conversations.
Yep. There's a lot of things, and if I say there's one more thing, then it would just defeat the purpose of us being here regularly nowadays. Uh, yeah, it has been a fun one. We discussed a lot, lot of things and everything technology. So I think we hope that you loved our conversation.
Yeah.
Uh, and what else? What else do we have?
Like, subscribe, share. Khatam.
Yeah,
That's it.
as always. This is
We
YouTube trying to alter our behavior that लाइक करो शेयर करो सब्सक्राइब करो डिस्क्रिप्शन में सारे लिंक्स को चेकआउट करना
Yeah.
वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ स्टफ फिनफ्लो आर इनकी कंपनी बहुत ही अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ें कर रही है यू नीड टू बी ऑन एक्स और ऑन इंस्टाग्राम टू लाइक चेक आउट द reactions to check out what they do.
And next time we'll give you FinFlow and IQ updates.
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
and IQ Pay, the update is that it is failing right now. Why? Because I have taken everything on myself. It has now become an independent content company under my name. So basically, it's Mr. Beast and Feastables. That combination has truly emerged. I'm the Mr. Beast
yeah.
here, and you can guess what Feastables is. So if you love business entertainment, if you love that business segment, you can join what we do, what IQ is trying to do. And yeah, on the next episode, we have a lot of things to discuss, amazing topics. And we are at the end of the podcast. We can take leave.
Thank you.
नहीं
Bye.
कुछ नहीं मिलेगा तुमको कोई प्लेजेंट्रीज नहीं मिलेगी गेट
कुछ
लॉस्ट
नहीं मिला. Yes.